Hey, my name's Drew Wehde. I'm the cinematographer for FX's The Bear, and this is the Go Creative Show.
Hello and welcome to the Go Creative Show, a podcast for filmmakers. My name is Ben Consoli, and today's guest is Drew Wehde, the director of photography for FX's The Bear Season 4. And this is your return, Drew. You've come on before to talk about The Bear because, first of all, you're a great guest, but also I'm obsessed with the show. It's so good, consistently good every season. I just love it. So welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I love it.
We had a little teeny bit of a discussion before the episode started recording. And I'm like, wait a minute, stop there because I want this for the show. I had asked you, as I do all my guests, is there like a specific episode you want to talk about or something you want to make sure we don't forget? And you immediately were like, that's not really my process. I like to forget everything once I'm done. And I'd love to hear about that and elaborate on that more, because I'm sure there are many people that feel that way, and also others that are like, what? What are you talking about?
Absolutely. No, it's a funny process that I have done for quite a long time now. And for me, it came from just my studies of some of like the cinematographers that I really looked up to. Like Harris is like somebody who I admired. And one of the things that Harris would say a lot, and it's in his interviews all over the place, is that, you know, if you're not in the moment, if you're not focused on just that scene and that moment you're working on, then you're not putting all of your energy and all of your creativity and all of your, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's not all there. And so it really hit me in a sense that like, there's two ways of doing it. Yeah, of course you're always working ahead. You're always jumping ahead. It's the process of filmmaking. It's the process of television and films. But if I were to move on to a scene and I am second guessing, if I'm thinking about, if I'm doing anything remotely that has to do with what I've done previously in that day, in that episode, in that movie, or whatever you want to call it, my attention isn't fully focused on the moment in the now. And so one of the downsides to that, for me, at least for my memory, is that I tend to forget most things I do because I am so heavily focused on just the now. And it's so funny because when you're like, well, what would you like to talk about? And I'm like, I don't remember most of what I've done. And I think it's like, it's something that I have these conversations with my guys who I've been, you know, I've had this crew now for 5 or 6 years, and we joke about it because like, it really does, and I've got them all on board. They all do the same thing because the work that we do in the moment is the most important work. And so it's just, you know, it's a thing about like, I don't watch dailies because if I watch dailies, then I'm thinking about what I've done in the past and I'm critiquing what I can't control anymore, right? And so if I'm only thinking about what I can control in the moment, then the work is the best it can be. And that's just like, I push my crew to think that way.
Have you always had this philosophy about filmmaking, or is this something that sort of grew out of your experience with The Bear?
No, this was something that I started doing around when we made the movie 8th Grade in 2017. It was kind of the point because like Bo was heavily focused on reviewing work previously, and I had so much that I had to do in the moment, and that was only my first feature. So I didn't have the mental capacity to kind of like go all over the place. So I started really focusing on just that day, just that scene, just that moment. And for me, that's when it kind of clicked. Obviously, like in retrospect, in that time and day, I don't know if I was necessarily as aware of these decisions, but that's kind of, if I look back, is kind of when it started my creative process and the way that I would, you know, be a part of how I'd be in the moment. The Bear, certainly because of the chaos and the way that it was filmed in season 1, we were kind of flying at the seat of our pants. We kind of were just like making creative choices in the moment. And, you know, I was creating spaces for Chris that were, you know, flexible in a sense that we could pivot at any moment. And so like, that's where it really kind of started making the most sense. Like in my head, I had to let go of everything that had to do with, you know, the past or in the future. And so from that point forward, it's just always has been my process. And
it's so hard to do. Like everyone's like, oh, in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. No one can do that. It's very, very difficult. It takes an incredible amount of discipline. Like that's a skill you need to hone.
Yeah, it has. It's been years and years in the making, that's for sure. And certainly, you know, one of the things that I personally fight, like internal, you know, battles in my head is like, well, does this come across as like not being prepared, or does this come across as like, am I not, you know, fully focused on other things? And I think, you know, my crew and my keys can certainly attest is that I can kind of separate myself into two brains and two structures. So like I have my set that is, you know, overly prepared. Everything's planned. I'm 5 steps ahead. Part of me that's 2 locations over with my riggers doing whatever, but the brain that makes it, the brain that's doing in the moment, I've always been able to, in the last couple of years, really hone that into just this scene, just this moment, just this shot. And then it's the trust in the department heads, right? The trust in my rigging key, my rigging gaffer, the trust in my shooting keys and my shooting gaffer and my, you know, my operators. Like these are people who are so good at their job that if I micromanage them or I'm thinking about what their job is or how to do their job, then it's not in the moment. And so I think all of that combined over the years of experience and the fast pace of this show and the other shows I've done in between have helped me find a way to let go, but also have that happening at the same time in the background.
So you must not be a worrier. Are you like a worrying type or no? I mean, you can't be, man, if you're like this.
You know, I always tell people, you know, I stopped worrying on set when I started having children.
Why is that?
Because there's a lot more to worry about in life. You know, so for me, it's like, you know, once you start worrying about your kid and their health and their safety and their livelihood, and did they eat lunch and did they go to the bathroom before you left? You know, it's like all these things compound on each other when you become a father. You know, on set, when you're like, oh, I have to get these shots done in an hour and a half, like, great. So I've learned
the easiest thing I'm going to do all day.
Yeah. I used to always joke, because a lot of my crew have kids too. We always would joke like, you know, work is vacation. And so why make it harder on ourselves? Why put that extra pressure on it when we only are going to have pressure at home that is way more important at the end of the day? So yeah, I mean, worrying for me on set is, I've been told I'm quite calm.
Well, that's
too calm.
I've been told the opposite.
Listen, years and years and years of it. I mean, 10, 12, 15 years ago, I was a nutcase.
And well, there you go. I guess everyone can evolve. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you keep a good work-life balance? If you got kids, you have family, you have all these things. Like, you know, these shows are demanding.
It is. Truly, I think one of the things that I try to do, and not to stray away any future collaborators of mine, but I try to leave work at set, at the production office. There's something about once I get in that car and whether I'm driving home for the commute, that's like the end of it. That's for me. If I need to wrap anything up, if I need to decompose, I want to walk through that door at home, and I try not to talk about work. I try not to think about it. I try to fully engage myself in the family and the life here to be helpful as much as I can, because I've been gone for the last 10 or 12 hours. And then if I have to do work, I do it when everyone's asleep. But, you know, I think it comes with like, the gives and takes of having a family is, I don't get to sit in front of a TV and watch as much work as I used to, because the time in the day is much less, after being on set. And so, you try to use your time between projects to educate yourself with what you've already seen or what you've missed or what you need to watch for future, work that's coming up. But like, truly it's trying to separate home and work. And I think that's something really difficult in our business, because at the end of the day, if we're spending 12 hours a day on set, that's half of a day, right? And so we're so, entwined into this world that to let go and to release yourself, when a lot of the times us as department heads are getting texts and getting calls and getting emails into the night, you still have to somewhat be involved. You can't completely shut it out, but you certainly can do it in a way that is respecting the space at home, I think.
So you said earlier that you kind of just forget everything once it's done. It's out of your mind, out of your thoughts. It's up. So when the season comes out, you've got this new season of The Bear out now. You're watching it kind of for the first time again.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? I mean, what is your overall thought now, especially having some distance from it? When you watch this new season, what are you getting out of it? How are you feeling about it?
No, it's a great question. With our show, I get to do all the color approvals, and I'm doing, I get final on all color. So I am purposely seeing things after we finish it, but I start doing color approval at the end of our filming schedule for like episode 1. And so like I color approved probably episode 10 or whatever. The last episode I color approved was probably only 3 weeks ago. But I don't really watch it. I scrub through and I check, and it's more about that. So at home, I do watch it for the first time with Chris's music and with the way that it's been edited together. And to me, it's validation that we made something great, because, we block shoot our show, in a way that is most efficient, right? Because all of our actors are quite famous now, and, our schedule is tight, and we don't have a lot of time to make it, and locations are becoming more and more harder to get, and we're getting crowds. We got to get out of locations quicker and quicker. And so I could be shooting scenes from episodes 1, 4, and 8 on the same day, at times. And we even did last year, season 3, we block shot with half of season 4. And so half of what just came out, we shot over a year ago. And then there's episodes that have intercut information or footage from a year ago and from just a couple of months ago. And so,
wow.
We were block shooting 2 seasons at a time last year. And so I could have been doing stuff from season 3 and season 4 on the same day. And so it's just like there's a chaos, which is very much created to be a part of the production side of things, to help us kind of be with what the show's kind of tempo is, right? Like, obviously, it's a very loving set. Like, it's a crew that's been together for 4 years, and, the crew and the cast are all very close. So, like, it's a wonderful place to be, but certainly it's all over the place in terms of what we shoot. So, yeah, like, it's very fun to see how it's put together, and kind of how Joanna Nagel, our editor, finds the stories and intertwines space and time, and like, it's beautiful. It really is. And it does remind you that you are making something special.
I wanted to ask you, you touched a little bit on it just a moment ago. Are the changes that you experience filming a show that is getting more and more popular each season? Like season 1, you guys were, what is this show? You were shooting in a real restaurant in the first season. Am I right about that?
Well,
or it was like a real
yeah. I mean, like the Mr. Beef is a real restaurant on Orleans in Chicago. It's quite famous, more so now than ever before. And yeah, it lives and it breathes there. We use it for all of our exterior locations. In season 1 and 2, we used it for some interior if we needed to, and then we had that same location built on a stage.
Yeah, so like the show's kind of evolving. The way you're shooting it is evolving. Obviously, budgets are going up. People are becoming stars now. What are some of the other ways that it changes? Like, does the schedule change? Does the way you prepare change? Maybe some things that we're not even thinking about that are just so impacted by the fact that the show is a massive success.
Well, I mean, certainly you're seeing, our main characters getting, their character lines are expanding much more, and they're getting a lot of one-off episodes. So, the beauty to The Bear for me is the exploration into someone's life, right? So everyone's really getting their own episodes, and we get to explore and learn about them. And they're all kind of thematically designed to have their own look and feel as well. Not necessarily like, there's a template and we draw it out, but we get to explore space that maybe we haven't explored before. It certainly, it started off in season 2 with, forks with Eben and fishes with the family flashback. And then season 3, we did it with Tina's episode, and season 4, we did it with Io's episode. And so it's just something that has been, an evolving experience for all of us, to not necessarily to correct you, but to give you insight. Our budgets haven't changed since season 1, and our shooting schedule hasn't changed. So we're still at 4.5-day episodes going into season 4. And so, it's always been about what we're gaining is our efficiency of how to make the show, where in season 1, we are constantly up against the clock because, how do you do 30 something minutes in 4.5 days? How do you, move around locations in a city? How the heck do we accomplish the show in the time and the low money or, the lower budgets that we have? And then we started, getting creative, right? How do we start designing these stages? How do we start designing these locations to give us freedom of exploration is kind of like my term I use. Like, how can I give Chris the ability to walk into a set, whether it's location or on a stage, and have the freedom to explore without being forced into a corner, forced into a space. I think so much of television and I've been a part of this in the past. So much of television is you have a scene, you light just that section, and then when you change, you relight the next section, you relight the next section, and what we found is that takes a lot of time. And so I found a way to, over the years, I found a way to gain 2 hours or 3 hours in a day of shooting time by designing, basically 360 light spaces. And that was really key to my riggers, my rigging gaffer, my rigging, key grip, who designed these entire ceiling systems, and everything was on, the iPad, and we could walk in and Chris be like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, daytime, I really liked how the sun's coming in the other day. And then boom, the Vulcans from, we use MBS Vulcans, the Vulcans coming through the windows, the interior lights turn off. It's just like within seconds now we're lit for this creative idea that he might have saw in that moment, or the way he was watching a quick rehearsal with whoever, right? And so to me, it's like the flexibility. How can I be prepared so that the time from him asking for something to shooting is under 10 minutes? And how do I do it and keep the show as beautiful as it has been like my biggest accomplishment in a sense for myself, because, to me, I can take the system and bring it anywhere. It's just a really, really fun, creative, technical kind of approach show, which I think you don't really see on TV, but it's just how we do it.
You don't, but it's interesting to talk about, and that's what part of what I wanted to discuss with you. So, talk to me a little bit more about this lighting system that you have. You said you could take it anywhere. This approach, how has it evolved from earlier seasons of The Bear to where it is now?
It has evolved into we have embraced hard light and large fixtures on the outside. So, it wasn't necessarily gaining more money, but it was about moving money around in our electrical and rigging budgets, so that every location, daylight based, we would have 18K Vulcans outside, multiple of them. And so it's like, okay, well, during the day, let's embrace natural sunlight pushes. Let's design the interior to be LED based. So like my shooting package is LED and my rigging package is HMI and tungsten. So it's like, I can't afford to run it all on both sides. So let's split the money up and let's do it in a way that, maximizes the amount of fixtures while staying lean and efficient. And so shooting crews LED based almost entirely, a lot of aperture based system stuff, and the outside we have a great relationship with MBS, so we're using the Vulcans, and the Vulcans are remote head 18Ks, and so they are giving me pan and tilt on the iPad along with flood and spot. And so we really can manipulate things super fast. People aren't in the cranes. And so over the years, we've kind of dialed in this system of hard light in, soft LED interior, and then like quick little eye lights. And we can do it quick, very fast. And then The same thing with the stages. Stages are just all tungsten based 20s outside with, we would carry, the stage always held a couple of mold beams on there, whether it was a 10 or 20K mold beam to give us like really good sun punches. And then we always carried a 10 beam mold beam with us on the shooting pack or the truck package. And again, it was just like push the light in, give them a little, push it in, get a nice edge on it, let them kind of work through the space. Cause that way I was able to light full spaces, full rooms. And it didn't really feel like I was pigeonholed into like an X mark or this X mark. And so that was kind of the evolution was that, where I think season 1, it felt like I didn't know how to use the money well enough yet. So it felt like I was doing less large pushes and I was doing way more work in the inside to try to like bring levels up to match like what's happening outside or something like that. And I found, even though we were quick with that, it wasn't the look that I really loved. And I think our actors, you can really start seeing in season 3, but season 4, you can really start seeing all these like great, like hard cuts happening. The opening of season 1 with Jeremy and Bernthal in his mom's kitchen. That's 2 Vulcans outside the windows, probably 20 or 30 feet up, just slashing right through those windows and like letting that raw come right across them, and then utilizing, the top of the windowsill to create that natural cut and like, hold that for as long as we needed to. That way these guys could perform, whether it took an hour or 3 hours. And then the interior was just like really little like, ambient lifts. Like I would always just do interior ambient lifts with like a blue, something that like gave a shadow lift, but it didn't feel like it was fighting against, the warmth of the sun.
I always ask our listeners to provide some questions whenever we have guests coming up. And we got a lot of questions about use of color in The Bear season 4. One of which, let's see, where is it? I had it right here. And it just goes away. I wish I could. I want to give them credit. Here it is. Fuking.mars on Instagram. Okay. Can you explain a bit what you did with the colors this season, especially the pink? And if you could, because I'm curious, I feel like the strongest use of that pinkish, reddish color came during the dream sequence in the opening of episode 8. With Sydney kind of running out of the theater, and then you have some of these reds and pinks everywhere, but obviously strong blues there too. I love the use of color in this show, and I think that's a great question. So thank you, Fuking.Mars, for this question.
Yeah, I mean, I think, season 3 is when we started introducing a lot more color. We started bringing a lot more of the aperture stuff in, and a couple other, higher quality LED instruments that gave me full spectrum color. And so we started playing with that. And I think, the great thing about Chris is that all I got to do is show him something once, and then his brain just kind of goes like this. And he goes, okay, that'd be so cool. But like, can I see it this color? Or can you make this world, let's go like cobalt blue in here. And it, it references also to, there's episode 2, which has the big blue kind of kitchen or the, dining space that Eben and Jeremy face off. Then there's episode 3, I think, is the opening kind of like Io doing like the dream sequence of making the dish, and we're doing the multicolor kind of like fading in and out, and that. And then there's Io's dream sequence, which, was at the Chicago Theater, which was a massive kind of like snow rig at the Chicago Theater, which then turned into her running away. And at the end of the we shot in a breezeway on a stage. We were using all the new aperture. What do they call those? Those cloud light mats, ones that you actually like below. They look like mattresses.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what they're called, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so we had a ton of those. Aperture, we're a huge supporter of Aperture. They've been wonderful for us over the last couple of years, and so we're very fortunate to get a lot of their really cool products early on. So anyways, like, I guess to walk backwards, it's just like, it's really more about having these tools that are producing a much higher quality color. It's hard to explain, because like you would think that they're always higher color, but we're not. We're just hitting that point where these colors are good enough at a bright level that we can saturate and we can control, and it flow, and it kind of like is tools that we can actually integrate, right? Before so long we are integrating, DJ lights, which was kind of like the early days, right? Like all the Astera tubes, which were technically made for DJ sets, and so how do you make Astera, all these Astera tubes work great? And so I think companies like Aperture have really found a way to integrate color into their products to give us a tool that kind of expands our palette a little bit. So like to quickly run it through, like episode 2, Chris was like, I really loved what we did in season 3 when we had like the blue front of house with Ebbet and the really warm kitchen with Jeremy, and they're like kind of like this like battle between good and evil, and it was a little bit of our like Star Wars,
Yes.
the Jedi and Sith kind of like thing. And then this past season, he's like, I really love that blue, and it'd be great for them to actually have a little bit of like a face off. Like that's the first like acknowledgement of each other. Right. And so, again, I wanted to maintain, I have a thing about making sure I have color contrast in my scenes. I talk about color contrast a lot. My gaffer, Jeremy, just totally gets it. And it's like, there needs to be a warmth somewhere. Like there needs to be something that like is a complementary negative to this blue. And so, them at the table, I changed my entire set lights, which are all LED basically, and they're all color control. So everything went to this blue. So we had this huge blue color cast. But the only thing we didn't change is we have like the really beautiful kind of like down lights on every table, which are tungstens. And we just left the tungsten down light. And so it gave us that kind of like cut between their face. And it was just like a really natural, really beautiful, like elegant, like color contrast that, when you put someone like Jeremy and Eben in a scene, they can feel where it changes. And so they play it so well. And I think, again, it lends to incredible actors who understand their lighting and understand their lenses to be able to, rely and, I don't want to take any credit for them because like they find the light and they find their lens and it just works out great. So then, going to episode 3, which Io's doing her kind of dream sequence of color or of kind of proving that she can do these dishes in under 2 minutes or whatever the number was, right? And to me, again, it's like our entire set is, all of our overheads are LED color, full color. One of the things my rigging gaffer does is he pushes for the best ribbon, best, whatever we're doing insulation based, because there's so much, that kitchen is almost all ribbon. It's basically, that was the only way we can do it because it's all, channeled systems. Mm-hmm. And so, we were able to pick 2 colors and we just kind of like let them kind of flow and do this kind of beautiful dance. And, luckily when they edited it, it didn't feel like it was like hard cutting between it. It just kind of flowed really naturally. And, that was just, again, Chris being like, let's go with like magenta or kind of like a pink, and let's go with a blue. And again, it's like trying to find like 2 sides of the spectrum of color. So when you go, you can actually feel the difference. Right. And then the flashback sequence, again, we used all those Aperture light mats. I'm going to kill, I really need to know
I
what
think
they're
I
called.
found it. Is it called Infinimat?
Yes, the Infinimats.
Yes.
So,
basically,
the
mattresses.
Infinimats.
They're light mattresses, except
absolutely
way more expensive than blow-up mattresses.
Yes, yeah. So they look. That was always my joke. Like I'm like, these look like camping blow-up mattresses, and then we started
just
using
put some
them.
lights in a regular mattress instead of spending $18,000 on this thing.
Unbelievable though. We had what are they, 8x8s, right? Or the big ones. So we had 4 8x8s, I believe. Infinimat.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Infinimat 8x8.
Yes.
And then there's a 20x20 now too. Wow.
Yeah, and so we had both of those. So we, again, like, here's the benefit, and I hate it's so ridiculous, but like when you make a show that, luckily we can kind of make a really pretty show. Companies love, Aperture is really out there to get their product out and they want people to see what it's capable of. So like us being a vehicle for them is amazing. And so those light mats we used they have like 1x4s as well. So we started using light mats as like soft source, like fills, or even like key, like we were starting to use them all the time on set. They're incredible. But the big ones, where we used the big ones in the Chicago theater, we hung 4 8x8s above the theater itself, and that's where they're above the snow. So the snow was coming down under the light mats. And, again, we got to really pick that perfectly kind of cool blue color. So, RGB based. And then same thing when she's running in the hallway and she can't move. At the end of the hallway, there's a 20-foot tall, 20-foot diameter circle that we had our construction make. And behind the circle, I had the 4 8x8 light mats or Infinimats, which were giving that glow. So we could really, again, tune that color to, once Chris was like, that's it. And we stopped. It's like, I have no idea what color it was or what, any of that, but just literally sitting there with my dimming board operator on his iPad and kind of like scrolling through and on the camera, like, I love that. And so I think it's like the beauty of creativity and again, it's like flexibility of exploration, or what do I call it? Freedom of exploration, right? Again, it's like, how do I continue to set up to explore at all times?
And for the audience too, we've mentioned Chris 8,000 times. The Chris you're talking about is your showrunner and creator of the show.
Yes. Yeah. So Chris does everything. Yeah. Obviously showrunner, obviously wrote the show with a team of, behind him, and directs every episode. So, it's an incredible partner that I've been friends with for 15 years. And so, there'll be days where we don't even talk most of the time. It's just like the little things, and all you need is a little bit of information to get where you need to get to, so it's great.
We got a question from Matt, SCHBT Spit, I guess, Matt.Spit on Instagram. What type of cameras and lenses are you using most on set?
Good question. Yeah, I have used, to preface, I've done every episode but the pilot. So starting on episode 2 of season 1, we went to Alexa Mini LFs. Not to give away all my secrets, but I've shot it 100%.
Oh, give some away. It's fine.
All of them.
Just us.
Yes. 3200 ISO. I've shot it entirely on. So the maximum, rating that the LF can go to. And I have found the reason I like it, and I have actually taken this to other projects that I've done, the LF sensor, I think 2 stops pushed it's actual native ISO. You're gaining all your highlight protection because of the way ARRI does their latitudes. Unlike some other companies out there, if you push your ISO, you're reducing your overall latitude, right? Where on ARRI, it's a slider-based system, right? So if I move my ISO, I'm just sliding that latitude and directions. And so I think one of the biggest telltale signs in digital is when you get highlight clipping. And so if I can protect my highlights at all time, then I can always get a curve on it and I can always maintain there's no clipping. Then to me, I can get an image closer to a film looking product versus having to, bring everything else down on set. So at 3200 ISO, I'm gaining 2 stops of highlight protection. And so for me, it's been something that I really love, and it's a system that works really good for me and for my LUTs and all of that.
On paper, is that camera 800 native ISO?
Correct. Yeah.
So you're pushing it.
I'm pushing it
to the top.
Yeah. Yeah. To the top. And it's great because you're gaining a little bit of like the midtone and midtone and highlight speculars. And so those are the kind of things that we're missing when we're shooting natives because it's too clean. So I'm just adding a little bit of noise naturally, and then I'm gaining the highlight protection, which I think is what you can bring. Then that way you can really push your highlights down in your color grade. And now you have this kind of like really, really kind of soft highlight tone and not having to find, you're not going to run into clippings.
What lenses are you pairing with it?
Panavision I've been with Panavision forever. So we have been cooking an H series set now for 4 years, 5 years or so. So I think I only have one H that I started on season 1, minus my zooms where I am now. So me and Dan Sasaki have been working on building a handful of lenses and put kind of like, I'll be like, oh, this serial number H I really love. And he's like, oh, that one has like some Minolta and some Canon in that one. Let me find you a matching 75, or let me find you this one that has similar optics. And so we've been kind of, you know, going through the inventory over the last 3 years or so of kind of like narrowing ourselves into this set that feels what I love, like the softness and this kind of organic nature to it, which has like really great sharpness in the eyes, and things like skin tone kind of feels soft, and the backgrounds have like a really beautiful, soft, creamy, you know, you don't see all the speculars, and I don't know, it just, they feel right. And I think they're mostly older H's. So H's are just a rehoused set of standards, supers, and maybe an ultra or so. So these are like the old first gen pre-Primo Panavision stuff. They're all very fast. They're all large format. And so it all started season 2 when I said I needed a 50 millimeter that gave me close focus, and it was fast, and it was close focus, fast, and large format, obviously. And so Dan sent me 5 50s, which weren't modified yet. And he's like, which one do you like the look of? And I'm like, oh, I like the look of this one. So I sent that one back, or we sent them all back, and he took that one. And then about 5 days later, he sent us kind of like an all silver, no markings kind of like lens. And so he gave us a 50 millimeter that has 14 inches of close focus, T1, and large format. And so it's a total unicorn.
Yeah.
And so that has been our hero lens. We've shot, you know, starting in season 2 when we got it, most of season 2, most of season 3, and most of season 4. So probably 70% of the show since season 2 has been shot on this lens. It's gorgeous. Wow. He has recently rehoused it into a brand new housing that has like the bear inscribed on it. It's super cool. But over the years, it's been a really fun process with him and his team, kind of finding the serial numbers that get the same kind of tonality and kind of look that I love. And I think what I have learned is that, you know, for so long people are like, well, you need to pair lenses to genre, or you need to pair lenses to era. And I think, you know, when I found a set of lenses that I think are universally usable over all genres and all formats. And so it's like, I always tell people, just find lenses that you love, that speak to you, that make you excited every time you use them. You know, they don't have to be Panavision. They can be whatever you want, but just find something that speaks to you. And I think, you know, I've been a lens hunter forever. It's where I started. You know, I used to take Leica Rs and take them apart and, you know, declick them myself. And,
no way.
You know, yeah, it was like, that's how it all started for me, was Leica Rs. Like that was, you know, old Leica Rs, like the crustier, the better for me. Like I wanted swirl marks and scratches on them. I wanted dust on the inside and fungus. And like, you know, so I'd buy all these old Leica Rs, you know, the Summicrons, like, you know, 35-20 Summicron, and, you know, the 50 Lux, and like, you know, redo the backs and make them Canon backs back in the day when you throw them on your C300. Like that's where, you know, I started doing that. And I think it all started because I read some white paper that was like, oh yeah, and Panavision uses Leicas in their lenses. Like, okay, well that's how I'm going to get to Leica now, you know? And so it's like, that was the beginning of it. And so lenses to me have been something that I absolutely love. I understand them. You know, I always tell people, if you can, like, you know, talk with a director on set and you can see the shot with the lens, like without looking through a finder, like, you know, you're fine. You're good now. Like, I know what a 50 looks like. I know what a 75 looks like. I know, you know, it's like, you just need to know your lenses and you're good.
Do you find that directors really appreciate being able to get as close as possible to the look on set versus having to rely so much on post?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, totally like, you know, great segment, because like that is actually what I have focused most of my career on, and since 8th grade. 8th grade was the only film I ever done without a DIT. And so what I lost was control. What I lost was my on-set ability to manipulate the image. And so for me, having a DIT on set is the most critical person for my job, because I consider myself a colorist, so I have used the same show LUT since season 1. So I have not changed my LUT. It was a LUT that I created from scratch. So I haven't changed it, but what I do is I do CDL adjustments throughout the day. And so I live grade. So I have a full board on set with, it's quite complicated at this point, but I don't have just like normal board. I have the board plus a couple other things. And so I can do printer lights, I can do the board work, I can do individual color control through another board with a bunch of knobs on it. It's like the TK or something like that. And so I can do like green channel, blue channel, and red channel isolations in high, medium, and low. So it's like really, really manipulating color image. And so for me, I got burned, not necessarily burned, but I felt like I wasn't able to produce or deliver what my vision was. And it got lost in the post process during 8th grade. And so my goal is to provide a almost finished product to dailies so that, once it gets to dailies, you have executives, studios, you have producers, the director, the editor. Everyone uses dailies all the way until it's finished. And so that's a lot of eyes, a lot of judgment. So for me, it was like, I need to produce the best daily looking footage I possibly can. And it has not only does it look good, I need to make it consistent between shots. And so that was kind of something that I really focused hard on. And so The Bear was kind of like, was the show for me that from season 1 to now, there's not much happening in color. I'm doing most of it on set. My colorist is cleaning it up and doing any final matching. But in terms of creative changes, nothing's happening because I'm doing it all live.
I can't believe you have the time to dial in that much on a show that moves so fast. That's insane.
Yeah. We added in season 3, so we started working with Airy in season 3 with their new high 5 unit with all of their new motors. And we added the Cinefader to the front of every camera. So the Cinefade is a electronic controlled variable ND that is that communicates to the high 5. So my DIT station now has a high 5 unit that can control my iris and it can control the Cinefade. And so what I'm doing is instead of doing iris or filter changes throughout the day, I can set my T-stop on my lens so I can set the depth of field creatively, and then I can use the Cinefade on the knob to adjust my exposure. And so I can instantly dial in exposure immediately with the right iris level.
That's crazy. I'm looking at this. I wasn't familiar with Cinefade, but I'm looking at it right now. I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah.
That's a great setup you got there.
It's extremely fast. So I'm saving, whatever. Each filter changes a minute or two. And a lot of times you're like, oh no, put the 3, no, go to the 9, go to the 6, go back to the 9. Like, we as creatives need to see the changes. And so for me to be able to do it immediately with my hands while my technicians are doing other things, I'm saving 30, 40 minutes a day, right? It's just speed.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
It's just a really great system. I can control my camera settings from there, so I can do my white balance adjustments on the high 5. I can do my iris. I can do my exposure. And then I have my DIT color panel. I should send you. I'll see if I can have a picture. I'll send you of the setup. It's pretty cool.
I'm trying to like cobble together pictures of all these things we're talking about to put in the show notes.
I'm gonna ask Tom to send me one real quick.
That would be
or
great.
You know what? I might have
if we're
a good
able
one.
to. That'd be a blast.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people listening would love to see.
Yeah.
The
it's really cool. It's really cool.
Evolution of that rig. We have an interesting question here from Youssef Mohammed Dali on Instagram. Is there any improving or shooting shots that are not on the shot list or in the storyboard? That's kind of an interesting question. I'm curious about that too. Like, is the storyboard, are you really strict to the storyboard on The Bear, or do you grab additional shots all the time?
Oh, you guys are going to hate this so our show does no storyboards and no shot lists.
Well, there's your answer. So I guess the answer is no, but also we don't do them.
There's nothing. So to put it into perspective and to like, not to make it sound like we're the complete Wild West and are degenerates, but like, we'll show up on set, obviously. and most likely Chris will have like done a little bit of a drawing, like stick figure of like, camera looks this way, camera looks that way. And like, that's kind of it. And so like, at least I know I'm like, okay, they're somewhere in this area, and I think I'm looking this way, and I think I'm looking that way, and I know it's daytime.
Oh my God. Even for locations that you're not going to all the time, like real locations.
Yeah.
That's insane.
But again, though, it's like, it's funny because then I will go and do other jobs with other people, and like, I've met directors who are so dialed in a sense of like, they need to have every shot planned and every storyboard drawn, and then we'll get on set and they'll be like, okay, and then let's, and it's like, it's a process, right? It's like, it's their process to be ready for the day, but 9 times out of 10 we're kind of eliminating in that because of filmmaking. And the essence of filmmaking is reacting to how actors do something. And so if you're going to put 2 actors, 3 actors, 1 actor, whatever in a space, 9 times 10, they're not going to do exactly what you thought they were. And even if when you place them, be like, no, we want you to stand here and walk over there, they're going to do it differently. And so you still have to change and you still have to adjust, right? And so there's like, to his point, there are conceptual shots, there's big ideas that we will try to implement. But yes, of course, like those are things that like, we want to do. Like the flash or the dream sequence was obviously shot listed and obviously planned out because we're spending a lot of money for very quick things.
Yeah.
But like, a scene between, like, to continue in that color space, the scene between Eben and Jeremy sitting down at the table and the shots of the big thing of like Eben coming through the front door and the blue light, like, no, like that was like, I think there was like 2 blocking adjustments after the first take because we liked direction. So it's like, no, you just kind of, I think it goes back to what we originally said in the very beginning, like you have to not be in love with everything you do because things are always going to change. And so if you can let go immediately and be like, okay, pivot, and then whatever that pivot is, and then whatever you end up landing on, like, how do I make it the best it can be? And I think like that's the success, I think, is trying to just be fully in the now.
I want to talk about the finale episode for just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a spoiler, so whatever. Watch the whole series and just get over it. But so in this finale episode, you have Cammie, Sydney, Richie, and Natalie. I mean, that's it. And of course, it starts with just Cameron and Sydney. Exterior, right outside the restaurant. This is when they are having a big giant fight about the fact that Carmi, I keep saying Cammie, that Carmi's leaving the restaurant, and there's a lot. This is like the boiling point that you've been waiting for all season. In a season of a lot of boiling points too. But people are freaking out about this episode. Everyone is, there's huge debate about it. Was it a good decision? Was it a bad decision for Carmi? But also just the simplicity of the episode and the fact that it's so character driven. It's just such a great way to end such an amazing season. You had also mentioned in our messages back and forth that there's an interesting story about this episode. Yeah. So I'd love to hear that story and just your thoughts on the way that this season ended. Yeah.
So one of the things that our show loves to do is we love, let's take season 3, episode 1. It was called Tomorrowland, or I forget what it was called. 120 scenes in 34 minutes, right? Shot over, Copenhagen, Napa, California, Chicago, like 6 other restaurants, unbelievable amount of locations, unbelievable amount of shots, so much movement, so much of that. Like I can't process what that was. And then you take things like Ice Chips from season 3 with Natalie and Jamie Lee in the hospital, right? And we shoot the whole thing in 2 hours. It's like we are a show of like extremes. This is one of those extremes. So, funny story is we're at the beef. This is at night. We had it pre-rigged. and down the street a block away, another TV show was filming. So crews were kind of like going in and be like, "What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?" And so they're all like, "Oh yeah." The other crew's like, "Oh yeah, we got like this big old 12-hour night ahead of us and all this kind of stuff." And we ended up wrapping in 4 hours, and they had trouble doing two hours or 2 minutes of scene work in 12 hours. So it's just one of these kind of things where we set up a space. It's Chris has I think he has a love for theater, for giving actors a space to just kind of explore dialogue and explore the scene, and then we capture it, right? Like, how can I capture this in the simplest way that would not get in each other's way, that would not get in their way, but would allow them to kind of explore. I think we did 4 takes. We ran it all the way through. Each take never stopped. 3 cameras. And I think the kind of beauty to it I haven't never done before was I had 2 wings with our Panavision 1101s, which are just, lenses that I absolutely adore. They're old Primo 1101s that have been expanded to cover the LF format. They're slow, so they're only like, 4.5/6 split. So I built an entire, basically, stage lighting system outside, hung all the lights up above them, big softbox, big lights on all the balconies, giving hard edges and all that kind of stuff. And again, no one was lit. It was just the space. And then I put Gary, my A operator, on a handheld camera and, thanked him very much for holding a camera for 22-minute takes, kind of thing. And the idea was just like, just capture this. We had no idea what they were going to do. And so the first take obviously like revealed things. And so like, it's always kind of like the sports thing where it's like, we watch the first take happen and we're like, oh, okay, well that happened. So like, let's talk about it. And like, maybe you do this and maybe you do that. And it's just like a little bit of like a coach huddle, like, and this is like just us off to the side, like, whatever. And it's a blast. And then, take 2 happens. We're like, okay, I think we got it. I think that was pretty good. And, Chris is like, I love this. Okay, let's do it again. And, 3 or 4 takes in and we're done. And I think that's just, it's, we've done this a couple times now. It's kind of a thing that we do. I don't know, like, obviously, like, if I go back, like, it's a very, very different scene if I were to block shoot it, right? If we were to break it up, we were to, whatever that would be. One of what we couldn't do it all in one night. So we're doing, we'd be dealing with that. And 2, I just don't know if you'd get the intensity from the characters.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it was just the perfect end to such a great season to just watch these 4 hash everything out. Mm-hmm. And we still don't know what's happening with the damn restaurant. It's like, it's driving me insane. Like that countdown clock throughout the whole season. I'm like, all right, they're going to do a countdown clock gig from the first second all the way to the end and still give you nothing at the end. Yeah. I mean, what a great ballsy move. I really, really liked it. What an amazing cliffhanger too. But the show is just so good. Thank you. We've got to wrap up, but we do have a really important question.
Sure.
This is probably the most important question. It's from Sam Wisnap on Instagram asking, who's your favorite focus puller?
Oh God, Sam. Okay, so to be fair, I've had my same focus puller season 2, 3, and 4. I love them to death. Sam's my B cam. Maddie Rosick is my A camera. They're both. I will take them everywhere I go in this world. I do have to give Sam some credit. He lives on that 11:1, somewhere between 200 and 400 millimeters all the time, and he's tack sharp.
There you go. Well, I'm glad I got that question in, Sam. That's a very important one. Oh, actually, wait, this one too.
Oh no,
Eric Wally, what's your favorite espresso to pull shots from on the truck? Oh well.
We have a full entire espresso setup on the camera truck. So, Eric's my set deck. He does all my design. He's the man. He has all the hookups with all the coffee shops in town, so we get all the free espresso beans. So, listen, it's a family. This show's a family. We love each other, and it's the best.
And directed by Brianna. Thank you so much. We kind of did answer your question. Unfortunately, there's no answer to it. She's asking about how do you plan shots, storyboards, or just go into it. And that's how they roll. So your question was answered, but I do appreciate you asking it.
Sure.
Drew, awesome. You're such a great guest. I really enjoyed talking with you, and your work is incredible. FX's The Bear Season 4, as well as all the other seasons, are available right now on Hulu. You can see them all again, because you know you've already seen them if you're listening to this. You've definitely seen them already, but check them out again. You got to. You just got to go through the whole thing. Binge it and love it. Drew, amazing work. Thank you so much.
Awesome.